The lights on Luna Station flickered for a moment as the encrypted message arrived. Admiral Jack Morrison sat in his office, looking out at the Earth below through the massive viewing port. The blue planet seemed peaceful from here, but Jack knew that peace was about to end. His assistant, Captain Lisa Bennett, rushed into the room holding a datapad. Her face was pale, and her hands shook slightly as she handed him the device. "Sir, you need to see this," she said. "It's from the Zephyrian Empire." Jack took the pad and read the message. His jaw tightened with each word. The Zephyrians were giving humanity an ultimatum. They wanted all human colonies beyond the solar system. They wanted Earth to become part of their empire. Worst of all, they wanted 20% of Earth's population to work as slaves. The message was signed by Ambassador Vexthul, one of the most feared diplomats in the galaxy. Jack had seen pictures of the creature before. It stood 10 feet tall with 6 arms, and compound eyes that could see in 17 different light spectrums. Its species had been conquering worlds for over 3,000 years. "How long do we have?" Jack asked. 3 weeks, Lisa replied. "After that, they say they will destroy every human world." Jack stood up and walked to the window. Earth looked so small and fragile from here. But he knew something the Zephyrians did not. Humanity had been preparing for this day for decades. "Get me Dr. Nathan Phillips," he ordered, "and tell Commander Ryan Torres to report to my office immediately." Within an hour, both men were sitting across from Jack's desk. Dr. Phillips was a thin man with gray hair and thick glasses. He ran the most secret research program in human space. Commander Torres was younger, with dark hair and the kind of calm eyes that came from years of dangerous missions. "Gentlemen," Jack began, "we have a problem. The Zephyrians want us to surrender, or they will destroy us all." Dr. Phillips adjusted his glasses nervously. "Admiral, I think you should know about our latest breakthrough. Project Quantum Edge is ready for testing." "Tell me," Jack said. Phillips opened his briefcase and pulled out a small metal cylinder. "This is a quantum torpedo. It does not just blow up a target. It removes the target from existence entirely. The explosion creates a hole in space and time itself." Torres leaned forward. "How is that possible?" "We discovered that matter and energy are not the only things that exist," Phillips explained. "There are quantum signatures that hold reality together. If we disrupt those signatures, we can make anything disappear completely." Jack stared at the small device. "How many of these do we have?" "Currently 50, Phillips said. "But we can make more quickly now that we know they work." "Good," Jack said. He turned to Torres. "Ryan, I need you to take a small team and scout the Zephyrian forces. I want to know exactly what we are facing." Torres nodded. "I can leave within the hour, sir." After Phillips and Torres left, Jack called an emergency meeting of the Earth Defense Council. Representatives from every human world gathered in the main conference room. The mood was tense as Jack explained the situation. "They think we are weak," said Councilwoman Mary Johnson from the Mars colonies. "They think we will just give up." "Maybe we should consider negotiating," suggested Councilman Peter Davis from Europa Station. "We cannot fight the entire Zephyrian Empire." Jack shook his head. "They are not negotiating. They are demanding total surrender. If we give them what they want, humanity will cease to exist as a free species." The debate went on for hours. Some council members wanted to fight. Others wanted to try diplomacy. A few suggested that humanity should flee to other galaxies rather than face certain destruction. Finally, Jack stood up. "I am calling for a vote. All in favor of rejecting the Zephyrian ultimatum?" One by one, hands went up around the room. Even the scared ones voted to fight. When the count was finished, it was unanimous. Humanity would not surrender. 3 days later, Commander Torres returned from his scouting mission. His report was frightening. The Zephyrians had assembled the largest fleet in galactic history. Over 10,000 warships were gathering at the edge of human space. Each ship was the size of a small city and carried enough firepower to destroy a planet. They have ships from 12 different species, Torres reported. The Craxi with their plasma cannons, the Threnody with their mind, control beams, the Vorthic with their dimensional shields. It is like facing the entire galaxy at once. Jack listened to the report without showing any emotion. Inside, he felt fear for his species. But he also felt something else. He felt anger. The Zephyrians thought they could just take whatever they wanted. They thought humans were just another primitive species to be conquered. They were wrong. How long until they attack? Jack asked. 2 weeks, maybe less, Torres replied. Their forward scouts are already moving into the outer systems. Jack turned to look at Earth again. Somewhere down there, children were playing in parks. Families were having dinner together. Scientists were making new discoveries. Artists were creating beautiful things. All of that was about to be threatened by creatures who saw humans as nothing more than property. He activated the communication system that would broadcast his message across all human worlds and ships. When the channel opened, Jack looked directly into the camera. "Citizens of Earth and all human colonies," he began. "We have received an ultimatum from the Zephyrian Empire. They demand our surrender and our freedom. They believe we will submit to their will, like so many other species before us." He paused, letting his words sink in across human space. "But they do not know us. They do not understand what it means to be human. They think we are weak because we are young. They think we are helpless because we are small. They are about to learn how wrong they are." Jack leaned forward, his voice growing stronger. "To the Zephyrian Empire, I say this. You want war? Then prepare to be erased." 3 weeks passed faster than anyone wanted. The Zephyrian fleet moved like a dark cloud across the stars, heading straight for human space. Their first target was New Boston, a mining colony in the Kepler system. The colony had 2 million people and was protected by only 40 human ships. Colonel Amy Rodriguez stood on the bridge of her flagship, the cruiser USS Liberty. She watched the tactical display as 300 Zephyrian vessels dropped out of hyperspace. The enemy ships were massive, each one 3 times larger than her biggest cruiser. Their hulls were black metal covered in strange symbols that seemed to move in the light. "Ma'am, we are getting a transmission from the Zephyrian fleet," reported Lieutenant Jake Sullivan from the weapons station. He was young, maybe 25, with steady hands and sharp eyes. "Put it on screen," Amy ordered. The main viewer flickered and showed a creature that looked like a cross between a spider and a snake. It had 8 legs, a long neck, and skin that changed colors as it spoke. This was Fleet Commander Zarkith of the Zephyrian Second Fleet. "Humans of New Boston," the creature said in perfect English. "I am Zarkith. You have 30 minutes to surrender. Give up your weapons and prepare to be relocated. If you resist, you will be destroyed." Amy stepped forward. "This is Colonel Amy Rodriguez of the Earth Defense Force. New Boston is under our protection. If you want this world, you will have to take it." Zarkith's skin turned bright red. "Foolish primitive. You have 40 ships. I have 300. Your weapons are centuries behind ours. This will not be a battle. It will be an execution." "Then let's get started," Amy said. She cut the transmission and turned to her crew. "All ships, this is Liberty. Today we show these aliens what humans are made of. Jake, are those new quantum torpedoes ready?" "Yes, ma'am," Sullivan replied. "We have 12 loaded and ready to fire." Amy smiled. The Zephyrians had studied human military tactics for decades. They knew about human plasma cannons and missile systems. They had shields and armor designed to stop those weapons. But they had never seen a quantum torpedo. "Target their flagship," Amy ordered. "Fire one torpedo." The Liberty shuddered slightly, as the quantum torpedo launched. It looked like a normal missile as it crossed the space between the fleets. The Zephyrian flagship, a massive dreadnought called the Void Render, did not even bother to raise its shields. The torpedo was too small. To matter dot, then it hit. The explosion was unlike anything ever seen in space combat. Instead of fire and debris, there was simply nothing. A perfect sphere of emptiness appeared where the Void Render had been. The ship did not explode or break apart. It just stopped existing. The space around it twisted and bent as reality tried to fix the hole that had been torn in it. Every ship in both fleets stopped moving. The Zephyrians stared in shock at the empty space where their flagship had been. The humans stared in amazement at their own weapon. "Holy hell," whispered Jake. "Sullivan, it really works." The silence lasted for 10 seconds. Then chaos erupted across the Zephyrian fleet. Their communications channels filled with panicked voices speaking in dozens of alien languages. Ships that had been moving in perfect formation began to scatter in all directions. "Ma'am," reported the communications officer, "we are picking up Zephyrian transmissions. They are asking what happened to the Void Render. Their sensors show nothing there. Not even debris." Amy grinned. "Jake, target their second largest ship. Fire another torpedo." The second quantum torpedo found its mark. Another Zephyrian cruiser simply vanished from existence. This time, the aliens did not wait to see what would happen next. Half their fleet began to retreat immediately, but Zarketh was not ready to give up. His voice came over the communication channels, speaking in the Zephyrian language. Amy's computer translated his words. "All ships maintain formation. The humans have some new weapon, but they cannot have many. We will overwhelm them with numbers." The remaining Zephyrian ships began their attack. Plasma beams and particle cannons filled the space between the fleets. The human ships had to scatter to avoid being destroyed. Several of Amy's smaller vessels took damage, but none were lost. Captain Michelle Carter commanded the destroyer USS Defiance. She was known throughout the fleet for her aggressive tactics and her ability to think fast under pressure. As the Zephyrian ships closed in, she came up with a plan. "All ships, this is Defiance," she broadcast. "Follow my lead. We are going to show these aliens how humans fight." Michelle led her group of destroyers straight into the heart of the Zephyrian. Formation. The aliens expected the humans to stay at long range and trade shots. They did not expect the small human ships to charge right at them. The Defiance fired its quantum torpedoes at point-blank range. 3 more Zephyrian ships vanished from existence. The other human destroyers followed suit, each one erasing an alien vessel from reality. The Zephyrian formation began to collapse. Their ships were designed for long-range combat against predictable enemies. They could not handle the chaos that the humans were creating. On Luna Station, Dr. Nathan Phillips watched the battle through the quantum communication link. He had been monitoring every shot, every movement, every tactical decision. What he saw amazed him. "Admiral Morrison," he called out, "you need to see this. The humans are not just winning. They are completely confusing the enemy. The Zephyrians cannot predict what our ships will do next." Admiral Jack Morrison joined Phillips at the monitoring station. "What do you mean?" "The aliens think in patterns," Phillips explained. "Their tactics are based on thousands of years of experience. But human tactics are based on creativity and adaptation. We are doing things that their computers cannot calculate." Back at New Boston, the battle was turning into a complete victory for humanity. The Zephyrians had lost 60 ships and had not destroyed a single human vessel. Their formation was broken and their morale was shattered. Zarkith's voice came, over the communications again. This time he was speaking to his own fleet. All ships, retreat to hyperspace. We will regroup and wait for reinforcements. Amy Rodriguez watched as the surviving Zephyrian ships fled from the system. Her 40 ships had defeated 300 alien vessels. It should have been impossible, but it had happened. "Jake," she said to Lieutenant Sullivan, "how many quantum torpedoes do we have left?" 8, ma'am," he replied. "Good, because I have a feeling this is just the beginning." As the last Zephyrian ship vanished into hyperspace, Amy allowed herself a moment of satisfaction. The aliens had expected an easy victory. Instead, they had suffered their first defeat in over 1,000 years. But Amy knew that the enemy would be back. And next time, they would be ready for the quantum torpedoes. The real war was just beginning. The news of the defeat at New Boston spread through the Zephyrian Empire like wildfire. On the capital world of Zephyr Prime, the High Council gathered in emergency session. 12 different alien species sat around a massive circular table, each one representing millions of worlds under Zephyrian control. War Prime Threshmakar was the first to speak. He was a giant creature covered in thick armor plates, with 4 arms and glowing red eyes. His species had never lost a battle in 800 years of conquest. "The humans have destroyed 60 of our ships," he said, his voice echoing through the chamber. "Fleet Commander Zarkith reports that their weapons simply make our vessels disappear. Our scientists cannot explain how this is possible." High Counselor Vexthil, the same creature who had delivered the original ultimatum, shifted nervously in his seat. "Perhaps we underestimated these humans, but they are still just one small species. We control half the galaxy." One small species. "That just defeated a fleet 300 strong," replied Threshmakar. "I propose we commit the second and third fleets. 6,000 ships should be enough to crush them before their new weapons can spread." The other council members agreed. Within hours, orders went out across Zephyrian space. The largest military force in galactic history began moving toward human territory. On Earth, General Kevin Murphy stood in the underground weapons facility beneath the Rocky Mountains. Hundreds of workers were building quantum torpedoes as fast as they could. The assembly line ran 24 hours a day, turning out the strange weapons that had saved New Boston. "How many do we have now?" Kevin asked his assistant. 200 completed, sir," came the reply. "We should have 500 by the end of the week." Kevin nodded, but he looked worried. Dr. Nathan Phillips had sent him troubling news from the research lab. The wreckage recovered from New Boston showed that the Zephyrians were already adapting to human technology. Dr. Phillips himself was working in his laboratory on Luna Station. He had pieces of destroyed Zephyrian ships spread across several tables. What he found made his blood run cold. "Admiral Morrison," he called over the intercom, "you need to see this immediately." Jack Morrison arrived at the lab within minutes. Phillips showed him a piece of alien metal that seemed to shimmer with its own light. "This is from one of the ships that escaped New Boston," Phillips explained. "The Zephyrians have already modified their hull armor. This new material can deflect quantum energy. If they put this on all their ships, our torpedoes will not work." Jack stared at the metal piece. "How long do we have?" "Maybe a few weeks before they can upgrade their entire fleet," Phillips said. "But Admiral, there is something else. The quantum signatures from the battle show they are learning our weapon patterns. They are adapting faster than we expected." Before Jack could respond, alarms began blaring throughout Luna Station. Commander Ryan Torres's voice came over the communication system. "Admiral, we have a problem. Long-range sensors are detecting a massive Zephyrian fleet heading for the Titan system. Over 6,000 ships, sir." Jack's face went pale. Titan was home to humanity's largest shipyards. If those facilities were destroyed, humans would lose the ability to mass-produce quantum weapons. Ryan, how long until they arrive? 18 hours, sir. Jack ran to the command center. A tactical display showed the approaching enemy fleet. It was larger than anything humans had ever faced. At the center of the formation was a ship so massive it had its own gravity field. What is that thing? Jack asked. Torres checked the computer database. It's called the Star Crusher, sir. Zephyrian Super Dreadnought. It's designed to destroy entire planets. Jack made his decision quickly. Signal all available ships. We defend Titan at all costs. And get me Colonel Rodriguez. I want every quantum torpedo we have loaded and ready. Amy Rodriguez received the order while her fleet was resupplying at a space station near Jupiter. She had 43 ships now, reinforced after the victory at New Boston. It was not nearly enough to face 6,000 enemy vessels, but she would try anyway. The human fleet reached Titan just as the Zephyrians dropped out of hyperspace. The sight was terrifying. Enemy ships filled the space around the moon like a dark cloud. Their hulls gleamed with a new armor that could resist quantum weapons. All ships, this is Admiral Morrison aboard the USS Defiant, came the voice over the radio. Jack had taken personal command of the defense fleet. Today we fight for more than just Titan. We fight for humanity's future. The battle began immediately. The Zephyrians had learned from their defeat at New Boston. Instead of staying in formation, they spread out across a wide area. Instead of focusing on the human ships, they targeted the orbital shipyards directly. Major Sandra White led the Marine. Defensive Titan Station itself. She watched through the viewport as massive alien landing craft approached the moon's surface. Her job was to stop any Zephyrians who made it through the space battle. Marines, lock and load, she ordered. If those aliens want our shipyards, they will have to go through us first. In space, the quantum torpedoes were having limited effect. The new Zephyrian armor could not completely stop the weapons, but it could reduce their power. Ships that should have been erased from existence or only heavily damaged instead. Lieutenant Jake Sullivan, now serving aboard Admiral Morrison's flagship, watched his torpedo hit a Zephyrian cruiser. Instead of vanishing, the enemy ship lost its front section but kept fighting. Sir, the quantum weapons are only working at 30% effectiveness, he reported. Jack gritted his teeth. The battle was not going well. Human ships were being destroyed faster than they could replace them. The Zephyrians were learning to counter every human tactic. Then Commander Torres made a discovery that changed everything. His ship, the Scout, vessel USS Ghost, had been monitoring Zephyrian communications during the battle. What he heard made him contact the Admiral immediately. Sir, I have been listening to their battle chatter, Torres reported. The Zephyrians are not just trying to destroy our shipyards. They have a planet-killer weapon aboard the Star Crusher. It planned to use it on Earth itself. The revelation hit Jack like a physical blow. If the Zephyrians could destroy Earth, it would not matter if humanity won every other battle. The human race would be extinct. Torres, are you certain? Yes, sir. They are planning to jump directly to Earth after they finish here. The planet killer charges for 6 hours before firing. Once they start the process, nothing can stop it. Jack looked at the tactical display. The battle for Titan was almost lost. But now he realized that this fight did not matter. Only Earth mattered. He activated the fleet-wide communication channel. All ships, this is Admiral Morrison. New orders. We are not going to defend Titan anymore. We are going on the attack. Captain Michelle Carter, commanding her destroyer in the thick of the battle, could not believe what she was hearing. Sir, attack what? They outnumber us 100 to 1. Jack's voice was calm but determined. We are going to attack their home world. If they want to destroy Earth, we will destroy Zephyr Prime first. Sometimes the best defense is a good offense. The surviving human ships began to withdraw from the battle. The Zephyrians thought they were retreating in defeat. They had no idea that humanity was about to bring the war to their doorstep. As the human fleet regrouped near Jupiter, Jack looked at the tactical display one more time. In a few hours, the largest gamble in human history would begin. Either humanity would strike a blow that would end the war, or they would all die trying. Set course for Zephyr Prime, he ordered. Maximum speed. The human fleet jumped into hyperspace, heading for the heart of the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral Jack Morrison stood on the bridge of his flagship, the dreadnought USS Retribution. Around him, 2,000 human ships flew in formation through the yellow, twisted space between stars. The journey to Zephyr Prime would take them through 17 enemy star systems. Each one was heavily defended. The Zephyrians had never imagined that anyone would be crazy enough to attack their home territory. Colonel Amy Rodriguez now commanded a battle group of heavy cruisers. Her ships had been equipped with the newest quantum weapons that Dr. Phillips had developed. These new torpedoes could punch through the improved Zephyrian armor, but they were still not as powerful as the original versions. Admiral, she called over the communication system. Long-range sensors are detecting enemy ships in the next system. Looks like a patrol fleet. How many? Jack asked. 200 ships, sir. They are spread out across the system, guarding the hyperspace routes. Jack nodded. The Zephyrians were trying to stop the human advance before it could reach their core worlds, but they were making a mistake. They were thinking like they always had, using old tactics against an enemy that did not follow the rules. All ships, prepare for combat jump, Jack ordered. We are going to hit them fast and hard, then move on before reinforcements arrive. The human fleet dropped out of hyperspace, right in the middle of the Zephyrian patrol. The aliens were caught completely off guard. Their ships were scattered across the system, too far apart to support each other. Commander Jake Sullivan, now captain of his own destroyer, led the first attack. His ship, the USS Lightning, fired quantum torpedoes at 3 enemy vessels simultaneously. All 3 Zephyrian ships were badly damaged, though none were completely destroyed. Multiple hits, Sullivan reported. Enemy formation is breaking apart. Captain Michelle Carter commanded a squadron of fast attack ships. She had learned to use human unpredictability as a weapon. Instead of engaging the enemy ships directly, she targeted their communication arrays and sensor equipment. If they cannot talk to each other, they cannot coordinate their attacks, she explained to her pilots. Hit their eyes and ears first, then go for the kill. The battle lasted only 30 minutes. The human fleet destroyed or disabled most of the Zephyrian patrol, then jumped back into hyperspace before enemy reinforcements could arrive. It was a new kind of warfare, fast and brutal. Dr. Nathan Phillips traveled with the fleet aboard the research ship USS Discovery. He studied every battle, learning how the Zephyrians adapted to human tactics. What he discovered was both encouraging and terrifying. Admiral, he reported after the third system battle, the aliens are starting to understand our quantum technology. But they are also making mistakes. They are so focused on stopping our weapons that they are ignoring our other advantages. What do you mean? Jack asked. Human creativity, sir. We change our tactics every battle. The Zephyrians cannot predict what we will do because we do not follow their rules of warfare. To them, our behavior seems random and impossible. Phillips was right. In each system they attacked, the humans used different tactics. Sometimes they struck fast and retreated. Sometimes they split their forces and attacked from multiple directions. Sometimes they ignored the enemy ships completely and went after supply bases and communication stations. The Zephyrians had never faced an enemy like this. Their military doctrine was based on thousands of years of conquest. They had detailed plans for every situation. But humans did not fit into any of their plans. Colonel Brian Martinez led the Marine assault teams. When the fleet captured enemy bases, his soldiers had to fight Zephyrian ground forces. What they found surprised everyone. These aliens are not warriors, Martinez reported after taking a supply depot. They are bureaucrats with weapons. They follow orders perfectly, but they cannot think for themselves when something unexpected happens. The Zephyrian Empire had grown soft during its centuries of dominance. Their soldiers were trained to fight primitive species that used predictable tactics. They had never faced an enemy that could match their technology and exceed their creativity. As the human fleet pushed deeper into Zephyrian space, word of their advance spread throughout the Empire. On world after world, alien civilians watched the news in shock. The mighty Zephyrian military was being defeated by a species they had never heard of before. Commander Ryan Torres had been promoted to lead the reconnaissance forces. His job was to scout ahead and find the best routes to Zephyr Prime. What he discovered changed the entire plan. "Admiral, you need to see this," Torres reported from his scout ship. "I have found something incredible." Torres transmitted his findings to the fleet. The images showed a massive space station orbiting a dead star. The station was bigger than most planets, with millions of ships docked at its ports. "What is that thing?" Jack asked. "It is called the Nexus," Torres explained. "According to the intelligence we captured, it is the central command center for the entire Zephyrian military. Every fleet in the Empire receives orders from that station." Dr. Phillips studied the scans of the mysterious station. "Admiral, if we could capture or destroy the Nexus, we could cripple their entire command structure. Without central coordination, their fleets would be operating blind." Jack looked at the tactical display. The Nexus was defended by over 5,000 ships, more than twice the size of his entire fleet. Attacking it would be suicide, but then he had an idea that was so crazy it might actually work. "Phillips, could we use quantum weapons to disrupt their communications instead of destroying ships?" The scientist's eyes widened. "In theory, yes. If we modified the quantum torpedoes to target information instead of matter, we could erase their entire command network. How long would it take?" "Give me 2 days, sir." While Phillips worked on modifying the weapons, the human fleet hid in an asteroid field near the Nexus. Jack watched the massive station through long-range sensors. Millions of aliens lived and worked there, coordinating the conquest of entire galaxies. Soon, all of that would change. Captain Rodriguez joined Jack on the observation deck. "Sir, do you really think this will work?" "Amy, 3 months ago we were facing total extinction," Jack replied. "Now we are preparing to attack the most powerful military installation in the galaxy. If humans can do the impossible once, we can do it again." On the second day, Phillips announced that the modified quantum weapons were ready. Instead of erasing ships from existence, these new torpedoes would erase the quantum signatures that allowed faster-than-light communication. One shot at the Nexus communication array, and every Zephyrian fleet in the galaxy will be cut off from command, Phillips explained. They will not be able to coordinate attacks or call for reinforcements. Jack assembled his fleet commanders for the final briefing. "Ladies and gentlemen, in 6 hours we will attack the Nexus. This is not just about winning a battle. This is about ending the war." Captain Carter raised her hand. "Sir, what about the planet-killer weapon heading for Earth? If we cut off their communications, they will not be able to activate it," Jack replied. "But we have to move fast. Intelligence suggests they will reach Earth in less than 48 hours. The human fleet moved into attack position. Ahead of them, the Nexus glowed like a small sun, surrounded by the largest concentration of military ships in galactic history. All ships, this is Admiral Morrison, Jack announced. Today we prove that humanity belongs among the stars. Attack formation, full speed ahead. The final battle was about to begin. The human fleet charged toward the Nexus like an arrow aimed at the heart of the Zephyrian Empire. Admiral Jack Morrison watched the tactical display as 5,000 enemy ships moved to intercept them. The largest space battle in galactic history was about to begin. War Prime Threshmokar commanded the Nexus defense fleet from his flagship, the massive dreadnought called Galaxy's End. He had never lost a battle in 800 years of conquest. Today would not be the first. Humans, he spoke into his communication system. His voice carried to every ship in his fleet. You have come far from your little worlds. But this is where your journey ends. Today you learn why the Zephyrian Empire rules the galaxy. Admiral Morrison's response came back immediately. Threshmokar, today you learn what happens when you threaten humanity. You wanted war. Now you get erased. The battle began with the largest exchange of weapons fire in galactic history. Thousands of plasma beams and particle cannons lit up the space around the Nexus. The human ships were outnumbered more than 2 to 1, but they had advantages the aliens did not understand. Colonel Amy Rodriguez led her battle group straight into the enemy formation. Instead of trying to fight all 5,000 ships at once, she targeted the command vessels. If she could disrupt their coordination, the numerical advantage would not matter. All ships, follow my lead, she broadcast. We are going straight through their center. Fire quantum torpedoes at will. The human ships punched through the Zephyrian formation like bullets through paper. Their quantum weapons carved holes in the enemy fleet, but the aliens kept coming. There were simply too many of them. Captain Jake Sullivan found himself surrounded by enemy ships. His destroyer was taking heavy damage, but he refused to retreat. If we are going down, we are taking as many of them with us as possible, he told his crew. His ship fired its last quantum torpedo at a Zephyrian cruiser. The enemy vessel flickered and vanished, but 3 more took its place. Sullivan prepared for the end, but then something unexpected happened. Captain Michelle Carter's squadron came out of nowhere, hitting the Zephyrian ships from behind. Her attack gave Sullivan the time he needed to escape and regroup. Thanks for the save, Sullivan called over the radio. Do not thank me yet, Carter replied. We still have to win this thing. Dr. Nathan Phillips worked frantically in his laboratory aboard the USS Discovery. The modified quantum torpedoes were ready, but he needed a clear shot at the Nexus communication array. The space around the massive station was filled with fighting ships. Admiral, he called Morrison, I need the fleet to clear a path to the Nexus. The communication disruptor torpedo has to hit the exact center of their main antenna array. How close do we need to get? Morrison asked. Less than 1,000 kilometers, sir. Morrison looked at the tactical display. The Nexus was surrounded by layers of defensive ships. Getting that close would be almost impossible. But then he remembered something Colonel Martinez had said about Zephyrian psychology. They were bureaucrats with weapons. They followed orders perfectly, but they could not adapt when something unexpected happened. All ships, this is Morrison, he broadcast. New plan. We are going to do something the aliens will never expect. We are going to surrender. Confused voices came back over the radio. Captain Rodriguez was the first to speak. Sir, did you say surrender? Trust me, Ami. Signal all ships to power down weapons and stop moving. But keep the engines ready. Across the human fleet, weapons went silent and ships came to a stop. The Zephyrian fleet, surprised by the sudden surrender, also stopped shooting. For a moment, the battle came to a complete halt. War Prime Threshmaker could not believe what he was seeing. In all his centuries of warfare, no enemy had ever surrendered. In the middle of a battle, "Human fleet," he transmitted, "prepare to be boarded. You will be taken as prisoners of war." Zephyrian ships began moving closer to the human vessels. Their boarding parties prepared to take control of the defeated enemy. This was exactly what Morrison had hoped for. "Phillips, are you ready?" Morrison asked quietly. "Yes, sir." "The torpedo is loaded and targeted." "All ships," Morrison whispered into his communication system. "In 10 seconds, full power to engines. Scatter pattern alpha. Go." The human fleet exploded into motion. Ships that had been drifting powerless suddenly accelerated at maximum speed. The Zephyrians, caught completely off guard, could not react fast enough. Morrison's flagship, the USS Retribution, shot straight toward the Nexus. Enemy ships tried to intercept, but they were out of position. The fake surrender had worked perfectly. "Phillips, fire the torpedo," Morrison ordered. The modified quantum torpedo streaked toward the Nexus communication array. It was smaller than the regular torpedoes, and the Zephyrian defenses ignored it. When it hit the main antenna, there was no explosion. Instead, the entire communication system simply stopped existing. The effect was immediate and devastating. Across the galaxy, every Zephyrian fleet suddenly lost contact with their command structure. Ships that had been coordinating complex attacks found themselves operating alone. The vast military machine of the Empire ground to a halt on the planet killer. Ship heading for Earth, the weapon systems shut down. Without orders from the Nexus, the alien crew did not know what to do. They had never been trained to make decisions on their own. War Prime Threshmakar watched in horror as his fleet fell apart around him. Without communication, his ships could not coordinate their attacks. The humans were picking them off one by one. Commander Ryan Torres led a boarding party onto the Nexus itself. Major Sandra White and her Marines fought through the corridors of the massive station, heading for the Central Command Center. "These aliens are panicking," White reported. "They do not know how to fight without orders from above." The Marines reached the command center and found thousands of alien technicians sitting at their stations, staring at blank screens. Without their communication network, they were helpless. Torres found War Prime Threshmakar in the main control room. The ancient warrior looked defeated for the first time in his long life. "How?" Threshmakar asked. "How did a primitive species defeat the greatest empire in galactic history?" Torres smiled. "You made the same mistake everyone makes about humans. You thought our technology made us dangerous. But our technology is not what makes us strong. Our ability to think differently is what makes us strong." The battle around the Nexus continued for another hour, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. Without coordination, the Zephyrian ships fell back in disorder. Many of them simply fled the system. Admiral Morrison stood on the observation deck of his flagship, looking out at the captured Nexus. The massive station was now under human control. Across the galaxy, Zephyrian fleets were surrendering or retreating to their home worlds. Dr. Phillips joined him at the window. "Admiral, we are receiving surrender messages from over 300 Zephyrian worlds. Without their command structure, they cannot maintain control of their empire." Morrison nodded. "What about Earth?" "The planet killer weapon has been disabled. Captain Rodriguez's task force is escorting it to a safe distance from our solar system." 6 months later, Admiral Morrison sat in his office on Luna Station, looking out at Earth. The blue planet looked the same as always, but everything had changed. Human colonies were spreading throughout former Zephyrian territory. The other alien species of the galaxy were asking to join the new human alliance. Captain Rodriguez entered his office with a report. "Sir, the final Zephyrian holdout has surrendered. The war is officially over." Morrison smiled. Any word from the Galactic Council? They want to meet with you, sir. It seems they are very interested in learning about human military tactics. Morrison stood up and walked to the window. 3 months ago, humanity had faced extinction. The Zephyrians had demanded surrender and threatened to erase human civilization from existence. Instead, it was the Zephyrian Empire that had been erased. Not destroyed, but transformed into something completely different. A rigid military machine that had conquered half the galaxy was gone, replaced by independent worlds that looked to humanity for leadership. You know what the funny thing is? Morrison said to Rodriguez. We never wanted to conquer anyone. We just wanted to be left alone. Rodriguez joined him at the window. What happens now, sir? Morrison thought about the question. Humanity had proven that they belonged among the stars. They had shown that creativity and adaptability could defeat even the most powerful enemies. But with great power came great responsibility. Now we build something better, he said. The Zephyrians ruled through fear. We will lead through cooperation. The galaxy is about to learn that humans do not just fight differently. We govern differently too. As he spoke, a new message arrived from deep space. Another alien empire, having heard about humanity's victory, was demanding that Earth surrender to their authority. Morrison read the message and smiled. Some beings never learn, he said. He activated his communication system and began to type, a response that was becoming famous throughout the galaxy. You want war? Then prepare to be erased.